The silence in the archives is never truly empty. It carries the weight of 10 centuries and the final shallow gasps of those who asked the wrong questions. Somewhere beneath the layers of recorded history lies a void, a vacuum that has swallowed researchers, fortune hunters, and the overly curious for 700 years. We are told that on a single morning in October 1307, an entire order of elite protectors was dismantled, their properties seized, and their leaders detained. Yet when the royal agents broke down the heavy iron doors of the great temple in Paris, they found something far more unsettling than resistance. They found a hollow shell. The vaults were stripped, the ledgers were gone, and the massive fleet that had been anchored at La Rochelle had slipped away into the morning mist. It carried a burden that would quietly shift the foundations of the world. The disappearance of this legacy is not merely a tale for the history books. It is a living, breathing volatility that continues to claim victims in the modern era. Those who track the movement of that lost influence often find themselves entangled in a web of coincidences that defy logical explanation. Consider a modern researcher, Elias, sitting in a dimly lit study in London. The only light in the room is the cold blue glow of a monitor. For 20 years, he has connected the dots between medieval ledgers and modern offshore accounts. Just as he prepares to publish a breakthrough, his digital life begins to fray. His bank accounts are frozen for routine audits that have no end date. His professional reputation is dismantled overnight by anonymous tips to his university. The danger lies in the possibility that the treasure was never truly lost, but rather repositioned into the shadows, fueling a hidden architecture that remains active today. To seek the truth of the order is to invite the scrutiny of forces that have spent 7 centuries perfecting the art of remaining unseen. When the order was established in the aftermath of the First Crusade, it began with 9 men claiming to protect pilgrims. However, within decades, they had transformed into the world's first global banking system, holding the keys to the treasuries of kings. Their wealth was not just in bullion, but in the power of credit and the ownership of vast tracts of land. They were the architects of a new world order, operating outside the jurisdiction of local laws and reporting only to the highest religious authority. This level of autonomy created a friction that was bound to ignite. When King Philip IV of France found himself deeply in debt to the order, the conflict reached a breaking point. The transition from being defenders of the faith to being hunted fugitives happened in the blink of an eye, yet the speed of the crackdown was matched only by the speed of the order's disappearance. Historical accounts suggest that a wagon train left the Paris temple under the cover of a moonless sky just hours before the arrests began. This was not a disorganized retreat, it was a calculated extraction. Picture the scene. Heavy wooden wheels muffled with leather rags to dampen the sound against wet cobblestones. Iron-bound chests hoisted by men who knew that a single slip meant the end of their legacy. The contents of those wagons and the 18 ships that departed from the coast represent the greatest missing asset in human history. It was not just gold coins and silver ingots. It was rumored to include sacred relics, ancient scrolls salvaged from the foundations of antiquity, and maps to territories that the rest of the world would not officially acknowledge for another 2 centuries. The loss of this material created a permanent gap in our understanding of the medieval world, a gap that many are still trying to bridge, often at a high personal cost. The trail leads in many directions, each more perilous than the last. Some believe the fleet sailed north to the rugged coastlines of Scotland, where local nobility was already in open defiance of central authorities. There, the architectural anomalies of Rochelle Chapel suggest a coded message left in stone, a silent testament to a hidden legacy. Every carving, from the strange botanical motifs to the geometric patterns, feels like a piece of a puzzle that refuses to be solved. Others point toward the mysterious Oak Island in the North Atlantic. For generations, seekers have been baffled by a sophisticated engineering marvel known as the Money Pit. The complexity of the traps found there, flood tunnels that trigger and submerge the excavations when someone gets too close to the core, suggests a level of Mediterranean engineering far beyond the capabilities of 18th century settlers. The common thread in all these locations is the presence of a protective barrier, both physical and psychological, that seems to repel any attempt at discovery. Elias feels this barrier every day now. He notices the black sedan parked at the end of his street, never moving, its windows opaque. He finds his apartment slightly rearranged, a book moved an inch to the left, a laptop charger plugged into a different outlet. It is a psychological war of attrition. In the modern world, the hunt has shifted from the physical to the digital and the analytical. Researchers use satellite imagery to detect subterranean anomalies and complex algorithms to track the potential movement of ancient assets through modern markets. But as the technology evolves, so do the obstacles.
Look at this.
It is noted among the community of independent historians that those who come too close to a breakthrough often experience a sudden series of unfortunate events. A laptop is stolen from a locked hotel room. A research grant is pulled without explanation, just as an excavation team is scheduled to fly out. There is a palpable sense of being watched, an atmospheric pressure that suggests the secrets of the past are still being guarded by modern hands that prefer the comfort of the dark. The conflict is no longer about the gold itself. In an era of fiat currency and digital banking, a few tons of medieval gold would be a historical curiosity, but perhaps not a threat to the global economy. The real danger lies in the information and the influence that the gold once facilitated. If the order possessed documents that challenged the foundational narratives of their time, those documents would still possess the power to destabilize institutions today. The threat is one of revelation. There are those who believe that the group didn't die out, but evolved into a series of private organizations that continue to manage the remnants of that ancient wealth, to steer contemporary events from behind a curtain of corporate anonymity. To uncover the treasure would be to expose the machinery of the modern world. Consider the psychological toll on the seekers. The history of this search is littered with individuals who became obsessed, sacrificing their families, their fortunes, and their focus to solve the riddle. This obsession acts as its own kind of protection for the secret. When a researcher begins to see patterns in every cathedral and every municipal seal, they are often dismissed by the mainstream, effectively silenced by their own zeal. The mystery acts as a labyrinth where the walls move, and the exit is always just out of reach. Elias finds himself staring at the wall of his study, which is now covered in strings and photocopied maps. He wonders if he is finding a trail or if the trail is being laid out for him to follow, leading him further away from his life and deeper into a forest where the light never reaches the ground. This is the heart of the dark thriller. The protagonist is not just fighting an external enemy, but their own growing conviction that they are being manipulated by a ghost. The disappearance of the assets created a vacuum that was filled by myths of divine retribution. However, a more grounded analysis suggests a much more sophisticated evasion. By dispersing their wealth across multiple continents and integrating it into the burgeoning merchant classes, the survivors may have created a financial system that was invisible because it was everywhere. The gold didn't disappear into a hole in the ground. It vanished into the very fabric of global commerce. This theory suggests that we are not looking for a chest of coins, but for the fingerprints of an ancient philosophy in our modern institutions.
It's been a pleasure doing
It is a
business with
legacy of discretion, a tradition of private power that operates in parallel to the public world we see. As we look deeper into the accounts of those who tried to reclaim the treasure, we find a recurring theme of sudden reversals. In the 18th century, several prominent families in Europe who claimed to have found foundational documents suddenly rose to immense political power, only to have their lineages erased within a single generation through a series of unexplained accidents. In the 19th century, excavations in the Holy Land by military officers led to the discovery of tunnels beneath ancient mounts, yet the artifacts they retrieved were immediately classified and hidden from public view. Every time the truth begins to surface, a hand reaches out from the darkness to pull it back down. The pattern is too consistent to be mere chance. It suggests a guardian that never sleeps. The tension between the public history we are taught and the private history that actually occurred creates a friction that generates heat. This heat is what draws in the modern investigator. They feel the anomaly. They see the gaps in the timeline where things don't add up. Why did the most powerful navy in the world simply vanish without a single ship being captured or sunk in a recorded battle? Why did the king who ordered the arrests experience a sudden, unexplained decline within a year, followed shortly by the religious leader who sanctioned the move? The sense of a high-stakes conflict that transcends time is what makes this the ultimate enigma. It is a war of attrition played out over centuries, where the battlefield is the human mind and the weapon is the control of information. The modern danger is often subtle. It doesn't always look like a shadowy figure in a doorway or a high-speed chase. Sometimes it looks like a non-disclosure agreement or a sudden change in zoning laws that prevents an excavation on private land. It looks like a scholarly journal refusing to publish a peer-reviewed paper because its conclusions are deemed too disruptive to the status quo. This institutional resistance is the modern equivalent of the castle walls and the moat. It is designed to keep the uninitiated at a distance, ensuring that the sacred remains secret and the legacy remains out of reach. Elias realizes that his search is no longer just about history. It is about his own survival in a system that has flagged him as a person of interest. If one were to follow the trail today, where would it lead? It leads away from the obvious tourist traps and toward the quiet corners of the world, where the old ways are still observed in private libraries and unmapped vaults. It leads to locations where the catalogs are not digitized and to accounts that have no names attached. The conflict is between the light of modern transparency and the shadow of ancient discretion. Those who choose to step into that shadow must accept that they are leaving the safety of the known world behind. There is no guarantee of return, and there is certainly no guarantee of wealth. The only thing promised is the truth, and the truth is often a heavy burden to carry alone. The narrative of the lost treasure is a warning about the price of knowledge. Many have suffered for it, not because they found the gold, but because they found the truth about who really holds the power in the world. The treasure is a magnet for conflict because it represents the ultimate autonomy, wealth that owes nothing to the state and knowledge that owes nothing to the established order. It is the ultimate leverage. In a world where every transaction is tracked and every movement is recorded, the idea of a massive, untraceable legacy is the greatest threat of all. It suggests that there is a part of our history and our present that we do not control. As the sun sets on the ruins of the old commanderies, the shadows lengthen, stretching toward the present day. The stones are cold, but the secrets they represent are still very much alive. They circulate in the whispers of high finance and the silence of the world's most exclusive circles. The tragedy of the order was not their destruction, but their transformation into a mystery that refuses to be solved. Anyone who attempts to close the case must realize that they are not just looking into the past. They are looking into a mirror that reflects the most dangerous aspects of human nature: greed, the desire for control, and the lengths to which some will go to ensure that certain things stay buried. The final conflict in this story is the one that happens within the seeker. It is the realization that the treasure is not the end of the journey, but a doorway. Once you pass through it, there is no going back to the way you saw the world before. The history we are told is a comfort, a tidy story of progress and resolution. The truth of the treasure is messy, dark, and ongoing. It is a reminder that the past is never truly dead. It is waiting in the vaults of silence, watching those who dare to come looking for what was lost. The danger is real. The stakes are absolute, and the gold is just the beginning of the cost. So the question remains, if you found the key, would you have the courage to turn it? Or would you recognize the silence for what it is? A protective barrier designed to save you from a truth you are not yet ready to handle. The treasure they sought to protect is still out there, shielded by a legacy of caution and a network of influence that has never stopped operating. It is a dark thriller that has no final chapter, only a series of individuals who tried to read the book and found that the pages were being written in their own life's work. The search continues, and the shadows continue to grow, hiding the wealth and the secrets of the men who once ruled the world from the shadows of the temple. In the end, the mystery of the survivors is a testament to the power of a secret well kept. It survives because it is more than just material. It is an idea that challenges the status quo. To find it is to become a part of the conflict, a target for the same forces that dismantled the order hundreds of years ago. The gold and the relics are merely symbols of a deeper reality, a reality that some are willing to protect at any cost. As long as the treasure remains missing, the story remains alive, a dark and driving force that reminds us that some secrets are meant to stay in the dark, and some treasures are far too expensive to ever be found. The weight of the mystery is not in the absence of evidence, but in the abundance of it that leads nowhere. Every map, every coded letter, and every anomalous reading is a thread in a tapestry that covers a door. We walk past it every day, unaware that the world we live in was funded by the very gold we claim is lost. The ultimate conflict is the one between our need to know and the world's need to keep its secrets. In that struggle, the seeker is always at a disadvantage. But the hunt continues, driven by the hope that one day the morning mist will clear and the ships that sailed into the darkness will finally come home. Until then, the archives remain silent, and the treasure remains a ghost in the machine of history.